Well, welcome to the Hanafuda Workshop. That was a wonderful opening teaser. Thank you so much. Today, we're going to be exploring different ways to play this card game called Hanafuda. Hanafuda is a Japanese card game. It means flower cards. And these small compact flowers have no numbers on them. Instead, they have suits of different plants, and they include animals and banners and groupings that secure your points or diminish your points, the points of your opponents. This game has been a point of contention and a point of communion for many communities here in the US. It has strained families when the playing has been done in gambling groups and for the Issei and Nisei generations. I can speak to that later from personal experience of my family. But it also has connected families across generations and lowered barriers across family members. I have my son and my daughter here right now. We have played across 3 generations of family members and across language when we can't speak Japanese with our great-grandparents. And tonight we're going to share the history and the gameplay of this game, both in Japan. We have Tamaki here to share with us, and also how it's played here. And before we get started, we're going to do a little poll, and before we go into the history with Kurt. So we're going to do a little poll and just find out what's your experience with Hanafuda gameplay? So are you an expert? Have you played often? You should be able to see the poll here and be able to vote on it. So we've got a mix, but we don't have anyone that's played often. I'm going to wait for one more person to vote. And there we go, 100%. So I'm going to end the poll. So this is really interesting. So it looks like we have some that have learned the game but don't play it much. And then we have an equal amount that have seen the cards before. And we have some that I know the suits and kind of know the rules. We have 3 of them. And then we have 3 total newbies. So this is really exciting. Thank you all for participating in this. And Kurt, do you want to lead in with a little bit of the history of these tiny cards?
Okay.
I have a lot.
So the history of Hanafuda playing cards starts when playing cards were first introduced to Japan by the Portuguese in the mid-16th century. Now, the cards that the Portuguese brought had 4 suits with 12 ranks. Now, this is very similar to our modern cards, which have 4 suits, but 13 ranks, which go from ace to king. Now, during this era, the Japanese created their own version of these Portuguese cards. Now, 100 years later, in the 17th century, the Tokugawa clan took over Japan, and they were very, very, very controlling. And in 1633, the Tokugawa shogunate closed Japan to all contact with the Western world, and all foreign playing cards were banned. In a few years, even the Japanese versions of foreign playing cards were banned. But gambling with cards had become so popular that the Japanese didn't want to give up the playing cards. And so what they did were create new designs to disguise the cards. Well, the government couldn't be fooled. And as soon as they discovered that the new designs were used, they would ban the cards. And once they banned those cards, new designs would be created to disguise the cards again. And so it went like a cat and mouse game. Well, around 1816, during this cat and mouse game, an early version of the Hanafuda cards were developed. And these early versions divided the deck into 12 months. Instead of 4 suits, they had 12 months. And the 12 months of designs had 4 rankings. And one feature of the Hanafuda cards that were very popular is the fact that they're very small. So, if a government official was around, the gamblers can quickly hide the Hanafuda cards in their sleeves. Well, after the Tokugawas fell with the Meiji Restoration of 1868, playing cards were tolerated by the government. And in 1889, the Marufuku Nintendo Card Company was founded for producing Hanafuda cards. And yes, this is the same Nintendo company that exists today. So in the 1890s and early 1900s, the popularity of Hanafuda spread to Korea and Hawaii, and eventually it came over to mainland America where the Issei and Nisei, the first and second generation Japanese, played the games. I remember seeing my uncles and aunts playing Hanafuda with my parents way into the night. That's a very brief capsule history of Hanafuda.
Thank you so much, Kurt. That was wonderful. And I love these little anecdotes of like playing into the night. And I just want to get a little bit here from the speakers, if you have any memories of how these cards sounded and how people shuffle these. In a moment, I'm going to show you a mirror board of how to play of the cards, not how to play it, but it's of the cards. And I'm putting in the mirror board right now in the chat. But in my family, before we go into the cards, before I show them all to you, this was a big part of the audio of these small hard cards. They are not like the playing cards that Westerners play with. And so in my family, my dad and my great-grandma, they shuffled these really fast. I don't know how they did it. I'm going to turn off my full frame because I'm going to ask my daughter too here if she remembers her grandpa doing this as well. So Emily, do you remember playing this with grandpa?
Yeah.
Sorry, she's figuring out a Hanafuda card. And what was it like when you see him doing it?
Well, the game itself was pretty intense. It was really fun. We played a lot.
Yeah. Tamaki, how about you? So how do you guys all shuffle the card?
So we put all of them on the table or on the floor, and we just did it randomly.
That's so interesting. Kurt or Sue, how about you all? How were these even shuffled in your family? So we've got spreading all around the table, and we have really rapid, I don't even know how to do it, shuffling. What about you all?
Yeah, my grandpa went. It's really fast. I have no idea.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to do it right now.
Same with my uncle. He was an expert, and he could really shuffle them amazingly fast.
Like if I try, it's just all going to end up on the floor. But it sounded something like. I don't know if you can hear that. No.
Yep, absolutely. So I just want to go over that a little bit because it's part of the experience of Hanafuda is not just what the cards look like, it's the experience of shuffling them and playing with them and hearing them. And so I'm going to share with you really quickly, I think Kurt kind of went over some of this about the deck, how it's composed of 48 cards and there's 12 suits, and how they represent every month of the year. And I actually didn't know a lot of what you were sharing, Kurt, in terms of how it was banned, even the Hanafuda itself, besides Portuguese. I just thought the Portuguese cards were banned. But here are the suits, and it was really interesting talking with Tamaki about this a while ago. We had a pre-meeting, and we're talking about the different names, and we were just going over one of the main cards here. I want to point out, you can see what each month was. It lists what the flowers are for that particular month. But I want to go over the willow one over down here. In my family, this is called the Gaji card, Gaji. But Tamaki, you want to tell us what your family calls this?
We called it Onifuda. It's like a Oni.
So an Oni is a monster. It's a demon. It's a Japanese demon. So I thought it was so interesting. We have different names for these cards. And this one here, we also talked about the moon card that's under this family here, this grass family. And this is a big 20-point card. My father called this Bozo. Tamaki, you want to tell us what it actually is called?
It's no hair, bald. It's Bozu, yeah.
Bozu.
Bozu,
So,
yeah.
this is like, you can see how this card game encapsulates language deterioration. This was like a game of telephone. So moving down the generations, and Sue was really great explaining how most of the people that came to, at least to Hawaii, which is the card game technique I'm familiar with, were from Hiroshima, and Nagasaki area. And that's where my family was from as well. Even they spoke a different slang even from standard Japanese language. So when it came here, went another level of telephone. So Bozu turns into Bozo. So I thought that was kind of interesting, the language change. But these are the cards. And then I'm going to pan over here and just show you some more. I'm not going to go over the gameplay now because Tamaki's going to share first the gameplay, the way it's done in Japan. But you can navigate through this mural board. It's in the chat. I want to see there's some conversations going on here too. 1 second, I'm going to look at these. Anybody have words for bozu or gaji? You can put it in the chat. Oh, so people said oni as well. Okay, so I hadn't heard of oni. So that's interesting. But if you any other thoughts on language usage, I think it's really interesting. Again, like when we think about communities in diaspora away from the homeland, it's often through games and music that we can find these interesting connections and points where things change in time. So Tamaki's going to go over the gameplay, but I will go over this a little later in terms of like the American version, how it's changed, kind of like a game of telephone over time. But feel free to explore this mural board. I just want to also point out there's Post-it note stickers on the left-hand side, and you can grab a Post-it note, and if you just click in the middle of it, you can type in it. So if you want to add a comment or what is a name that you used to use for some of these things, that would be fantastic. I'm just going to pull a few and stick them on there. And I am now going to turn it over to Tamaki.
So I usually play Hanafuda with my grandma. So I think it's kind of simplified version of Hanafuda, but I hope it does make sense. So I'm going to explain kind of rules and flow of play. So I think rule of there's different styles of playing for Hanafuda, but we're gonna focus on Hana Awase, and it could be 3 players or more. But usually we play with 3 people, and the basic thing we're gonna do is match up the cards from the same months. So you're gonna create that suit from the same months. So you can just focus on the plant or flower on the card. And then you're gonna create yaku. So it's kind of similar to like straight flush or 4 of a kind from poker. So you're gonna create kind of stronger combination to get higher score. And then the player with the highest score win the game. And then this is the yaku list. So I think I found this online, but I think in different area, say Hawaii, and then I'm from Osaka, so probably we have different name for yaku, and then we have different combination of yaku as well. So you can maybe talk to your family and then find out your local yaku. And then, so pretty much, as you notice, you wanna get gorgeous card, and then you are more likely to get higher score yaku. So you really need to watch out for this gorgeous cards like here. So those are 20 points. And then those animal cards, we call it tane. So that's 10 points. And then there's 5 points. It's called tanzaku. So tanzaku is pretty much it's a tanabata thing. So we make those long paper, and then we're gonna put kind of hope for the year, and then we call it tanzaku. So those are tanzaku. And then we have just 1 point cards. We call it kasu. So it's garbage. So like it's like nothing. You really don't have to care. And so I'm gonna play how to set up the field. So if you're gonna play with 3 players, you're gonna get 7 cards in your hand. And on the field, there's gonna be 6 cards with faced up on the floor. And then the rest of the card gonna be the pile, and it's gonna be face down and then placed on the table. And then, so you're gonna create suit. So let's say you have this cherry blossom one, if you have this one, and then if you look at the field, you can see 2 cherry blossom cards. And as I said, you need to take gorgeous one. So you're gonna pair up with gorgeous cherry blossom card. And then if you make suit, you can collect them. And then you're gonna keep it until the end. And then next, you're gonna pick one card from the top, from the pile. And let's say you got this card from the pile. You can find the same flower from the field. So in that case, you can take those as well. And if the card you take from the pile was not matching to any of the card in the field, you're gonna just place the card in the field. And then we're gonna kind of continue the process until the pile is gone. So you're going to player 1, player 2, player 3. And because I usually play with my grandma and then my older sister, I was usually player 1 since, I was the youngest. So, but people, I think, usually do look scissors, paper to decide which player go first. And then say that if there's no match in your hand to the field, you're gonna need to choose which card you need to put in the field. So as I said, you never want to put your gorgeous card in the field since the card will be taken by other players. So you need to think about which card should I keep or which card should I throw away. And then you're gonna continue this until the pile is gone. And then at the end, we're gonna calculate how much score we got. So we're gonna count the sum of individual cards. And I think it's simplified version for me when I play with my grandma, and I looked up online and then just a bunch of different calculation, but that's what I did. So say you had 20-point card, 2, and then 5 10-point cards, 2 5-point card, and do it. So it's sum of individual card. And then you're gonna add Yaku bonus points. Say if you got this one, Omote Sugawara or Inoshi Kacho, you're gonna get 60 points as Yaku point. And then that's gonna be your total point. And then we usually create kind of a chart and then so that we can keep the score. And then we're gonna continue like round 5, round 6. And then I didn't know that it was related to gambling, but in my family, we usually giving kind of small snack or like small money, like $5 or something like that at the end. And so as she talked, we call it onifuda. So onifuda is kind of tricky since it can be matched to any of card. So you can use oni card to any kind of card. And if someone uses oni card, at the end, there will be one card left without matching. And then that will be corrected by the user who used onifuda. So onifuda can be anything. It's like a joker when you do playing card. And then I think that's pretty much it. Hopefully it does make sense.
That was wonderful. Thank you. So now we're going to talk about the American style, or at least the style that I grew up with. So we may have people here who grew up with Hanafuda here on the mainland, and I'm really curious to hear how that might be different from how it was played in Hawaii. We're going to actually play a live game here in a moment with my son and my daughter. But I just want to talk about yakus really quick because there was a really big difference between the way Tamaki's family does yaku and the way my family does. So when we play Hanafuda, Yakus actually reduce the points of your opponent. So I'm going to show you what the Yakus are. So if you can get all the banners with the text, that's what a Yaku. These are all the Yaku sets, the ones that you could see pretty easily in your cards. And then once you know what the banners are, so all the rose, the kiku, these purple ones, if you just get those can increase just by points if you play only points. But if you play Yakus, that becomes higher value. But then there's also these ones here where if you get the lower point value, these are just straight 5-pointers here, but they match the banners. So these here are 10 points, and then these are 5 points. But these over here are also Yakus. So you can see that this particular one with the kiku or chrysanthemum and the little bowl, that serves in 2 Yaku sets. So that actually, if you're playing with Yakus, that's one of the highest, the most desirable cards you would like to have when you're playing this game, because it could lead to 2 different types of Yakus. Or the sakura, or the deer, or the boar. And then it creates very intense games, because what happens if you get a Yaku, you immediately reduce your opponent's points. So if you're playing in teams, both team members, like let's say you've got 4 people and you're playing 2 against 2, both team members have to be really sharp and know which cards they should probably get that are down on the board. So I'm going to just move to the side here and show you the board. And I'm going to ask Kurt just to share the intensity, because it sounds like when I was talking with you that you had a very similar intense gameplay. And it sounds like your mom was also using Yakus in the same way.
Yes. Back when I used to watch my uncle and my parents playing Hanafuda, my uncle would just, when he had the right card, he would just throw it down and make a clack, because the Hanafuda cards are thicker than American cards, so they make a clacking sound when you throw them down. And if you're a very skilled Hana player, like my uncle was, he could figure out every card that every player would have. And so my mother would be absolutely frightened to be on the same team as my uncle, because she was always scared that she would play the wrong card and he would get really furious. Why did you play that card? You know, that sort of thing.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm going to give you guys a little taste of the audio. So I don't know if you can hear that, but I'm like slapping the cards down, and it really is like that. And when we play and you get this card, the Oni card or the Gaji card, in my family, my father and others would like slap it down really hard, and they would go, ho, and then slap it really hard on the table. So it was a very physical game, I guess is what I'm saying. Hanafuda is physical. Tamaki, was it the same in your family?
No, as I said, I usually play with my grandma, so we didn't do like so intense. We just did it like gently.
A little classier. Okay, I'm gonna turn off my background, and we're actually going to go through a process of playing this. So my son here is gonna help deal. So when we have 3 people, you have 7 handed out to each person, and 6 go down on the table as a field. So won't you come have a seat, Cole? And he's going to deal for us. Okay, so he's got 6 in the field. And Emily, do you want to tell us what the point values are here?
That's 0 points.
Kasu?
Yeah, so we just put them off to the side in like a trash pile.
And when she's talking about putting in a trash pile, these are all in play right now. So what's going to happen is Cole's going to give us each a little deck of cards. Each gets 7. And we're going to look at our cards, and we're not going to show each other. The goal is to match a card that we have in our hand by the plant suit. And again, these clearly you have no numbers. We're matching by the plants. And that's when you can actually secure this in your hand. It becomes part of your hand once you match it. And hopefully you match it with another card in your hand that has value. So just to make this easier, I'm just going to put mine down so you can see what I got in my hand. Oh, I've got a 20-pointer. Okay, so this crane here is worth 20 points, and it's part of the Matsu, the pine family. I'm going to hold on to that because I actually, obviously, if you look, it doesn't match anything. Sometimes people get confused with this one, but it's not part of that family. Oh my goodness. So you want to tell them about that? Why don't you put that up? So why don't you tell them?
Plus 20 and 5.
23.
Oh,
Or 20, sorry, 20.
really? Okay.
Yeah.
But this one doesn't match with any Yaku.
Yeah, it's not an Yaku one, but can I show them this one real quickly? So this one she picked up, which was in her hand, and she's now able to keep it as part of her hand on the table. My dad called this chicken guts.
Chicken head.
Yeah, he would say chicken head and chicken guts.
No,
Yeah, he would say that to me. Maybe it's a little nicer with you all. So I'm sure that Tamaki had a nicer name for this.
I don't know why, but we called it as Matsuri. It's kind of festival, Matsuri.
Nice. Yes, we have Matsuri festivals in Japantown too. Okay, so the next step is there is a flip pile. So all the cards, sorry, I dropped a few. All the cards that were not in play when, and that Cole, like he handed out our cards. Let me make this a little neater. This is the field, and these are my cards, which would not be seen. This is what you would see, it's here. Okay, so this is what's remaining, but she now needs to flip, and then that's the end of her play. Okay, so she can't match up with anything. So when she flipped from here, she needed to match to something in the field, and it didn't. So it just is going to live there in the field. Okay, Cole, how about you? You're the next to play. Oh, I'm the next one. Okay, you gonna hold that for me? Okay, because I'm not doing so great. Okay, so let's look at my hand. So these again are all the ones I have. This is Kasu. It doesn't have any value. This has no value. This is a 10-pointer. This is a 10-pointer. This is a 20-pointer. I mean, yeah, 20-pointer I'd love to use, but I can't yet. So I'm just going to hold into that. And these are, that's a 5-pointer, and this is another 10-point banner. So these actually, I have, this one could match this, and I could take those. This doesn't match anything, so I'm just going to keep that, put that side. This does not match. Okay, so I've got 2 cards I could potentially use. This one could go with this one, and this one could go with this one. If we were playing Yakus, I would definitely go for this. I'm still going to go for it. Usually when we teach people to play Hanafuda, we don't start off with Yakus, we just go with point value. So I'm going to take this 10-point card of the Kiku, and I'm going to match it to this one. So these are now in my deck. These are the cards that should not be seen. So as you start collecting your cards, you actually want to kind of stack them according to value. And so usually what we do is with the 10-pointers here, and then the 5-pointers and the 20-pointers up above. And then my last step of my turn is to flip from this deck and see, oh, and it's Kasu the Kasu. So now I'm going to create the Kasu pile. This is a trash pile. I'll move it right here so it's a little bit more visible. Okay, and so now it's Cole's turn. This is the field, that's the field. So you want to explain what you just did?
Yeah, so on the field, there was a door. I had the 10-pointer, and that's the 5-pointer. And I flipped the Katsu maple, and that's into my own.
Great. Okay. And then you just keep going. We're going to stop at this point just to take questions and stuff. And I just want to ask Tamaki, do you start stacking your cards in the same way?
So what do you mean?
Where you have, once you gain them, you put them on the table.
Yeah, so I do put like 20 points here, like 10 points here, 5 points here, 1 point here.
Okay, just a little bit more. There we go. Okay, so she did a match. Okay. And then she's making her little pile. And so once she does that, then the next step is again to flip. And I don't know about in your family, but in my family, if you forget to flip, people get really irritated. Do you remember that, Kurt? Did that ever happen, or was that never an issue?
I can't remember. Sorry.
Okay. Okay. And so the next person to go is me. Okay. So I'm going to show you my cards again. Thank you. So I have, can you just take a little bit? I want to make sure I can see that you're seeing them. Okay, cool. Okay. So here is the flip cards. Here's what's in the field, and here's the costume pile. Okay. So these are what I have, and I don't actually own these yet until I put them into play. And so I'm looking at the 2 cards that I have on the field, and if I can get any of those, and I can't. So we're at a moment where I actually have to throw down a card and put it into the field. And so, of course, I want to put the least valued card. So I can either use one of these 2 Kasus, and I think I'm just going to put this Kasu in. I'm going to hide my cards again. Oh, Kurt, your uncle would never want to play with me. So she was saying, hey, I already have these cards. So yeah, it makes sense for me to put this one down because there's only one more. And the last other one is also a garbage one. So it made sense for me to put that one down. Thanks for pointing that out, Emily. Okay, so now I'm going to flip. Oops, sorry, that was also a mistake. And also you get yelled at for doing that. I flipped and I have another Kasu piece and I can't do anything. So that was, oh, sorry. I got my kids here. There's a match. All right. So
I think Rowan would remind you.
yeah. Okay. So one's trash and one is a 5-pointer. So I'm just going to show you what I'm growing here. This is my little pile of cards, and I'll move that back. And that is my run from my deck. Thank you to both my children for helping me do that properly. And now Cole's going to go. So he's going to look in his deck and find out if he has anything that matches those 2. He does not. So again, now there's 3 cards in the field. Ooh, and he flipped a Botan. Oh, wait, you flipped that? Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. And you were able to take one from the field and take that. Okay, great. That was good play. Okay, now Emily's going to go. So you're kind of getting a feel for the rhythm where each person goes, they try to match something that's on the table in the field. And then if they don't, you got to put a card down and then you flip. Oh, she's got the match. That goes in the Kasu pile. And then that's a nice card there. Okay, so she's going to hold the card for me. And I'm going to see, so I can hold the computer. If I have anything here and I don't have a match, am I correct, you guys? Okay. Okay, so I'm going to put down the only card here that has no value, and it's this one here. So I'm going to put this one down, and I'm going to go back to our flip pile. I don't know if this has an official name. And then I'm going to flip, and then, well, I'm not doing so well here, you guys. I put down Kasu, and I flip Kasu. Tamaki, do you have a name for this pile, the flipping pile?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
For me, no.
Okay. All right, and Cole, you're going to go now. Oh, Yakud. Gaji. Oh my gosh. Okay, can you push that forward and explain? I'm going to lean forward a little bit to explain what you just did.
So, since this round I happen to know my mom has the crane, the 20-pointer crane.
You wouldn't normally know that, but I've been free showing my cards.
This next round she'd be able to pick it up using this one. So what I did was I used the we call this one the Gaji. It's like a wild card. So I picked that up, and so this doesn't mean I necessarily get anything, but it prevents her from using that card next round. And if perchance the 10-pointer of the same suit gets flipped, and it's claimed with another Kasu, this second Kasu, then that card automatically goes to me.
You will get this card. Yeah.
Or if it's that one, or if my mom uses that to get picks that up using a Kasu, so the other one of the other MC's value card, then I get the 10 points.
All right, so rather than doing crazy, trying to pitch the computer, maybe we just hold up the cards this time. Okay, so who goes next? So once you show them what you're gonna do, and I can hold up the cards that are in the field. So right now, she has to choose or see if she can get any one of these 3 cards. These are what are in the field. Okay, so which one are you going to get, Emily? Oh, you don't, so you're going to add. Okay, so she's putting, so now we got 4 cards down in the field, and she's going to flip one of these. So go ahead, I'm just going to elevate it so it's easier. Oh, another kasu. Okay, so now we have 5 cards on the field, and now I can go through my cards and figure out, do any of them match? Okay, so I have these 4 pretty good valued cards. I'm sorry that I'm catching a glare here. This one is, as Cole said, that this is a high value one. I can't use it right now. It's not in the field. Oh, where can I get Hanafuda cards? Hey guys, have you seen them at Daiso?
Yeah.
You have? Yeah. Daiso would be a good place to look for them. Great question. Okay, so I'm looking to see if I have anything that matches. I do, because Emily flipped this Kasu card, and I had this in my hand. So I can get these 2, and this one's going to go in the Kasu pile, and this one I'm going to keep. And I'm going to, our Kasu pile is getting in a mess. The way our table's set up right now is really messy. Okay, and so I can't forget to flip. So I'm going to take this, and I'm going to flip it, and what do I get? Oh, I got Sakura. Okay, so there's this no point card. This goes down into the field. Okay, so now Cole has 5 cards. There's 5 cards again from the choose from. Oh, wait, let me put these all up. Oh, you. Okay, so these are the 5 cards. He was so eager because he's got a really good card in his hand.
The 20-pointer soccer. And 2 Yakus. So.
Yeah.
Pretty good one again.
Okay. All right, so he did really great on that. And if my dad was here, this would be really a loud game and a lot of card slapping, but we're going to be a little civilized. Okay, so now, whoops, I'm going to shuffle that. Okay, so now the next step is, yes, there's a Daiso and Cupertino. Okay, so you're going to flip. Okay, so it was a boar, and it does not have a match, so it's going to go on the field. Okay, Emily, what do you have?
On a point card, because I'm
And why not?
well, again, because I know Cole has the Gaji of the Casa card, and my mom has the 20-pointer, so I don't want to put down either. And then I'm hoping to get hoping to get both of these 2. And then Cole would just get nothing.
So it's so interesting because she put down a point card. But let me show them again.
You go first.
Yeah, and so she's got these in her hand.
Oh,
You have both of them in her
God.
hands. Okay, that's okay. Okay, so you've put that down, and so now, as you all know, her next step is to flip. Okay, so you want to hold that up?
Oh, she gets that.
She got it right back. So you want to hold that up and just show them. Yeah, excellent. Okay, it's my turn. Okay, it's my turn. All right. So I'll show you again what I have in my hand. I've had a couple rounds now of like not getting anything, but I'm holding some nice point cards, and especially this one, which I wish I could keep, but kind of knowing I'm not going to. And so I need to look on the field and see if anything there matches. And there are 5 cards in the field. They're hard for me to hold up right now. And none of mine match. So am I right? Nothing matches.
Yeah.
All right. So since nothing matches, I have to choose one of these to put down. Again, the crane is a 20-point, so I'm not going to put that down. This one's a 10-point. And this deer is a 5-point. Now, if we were playing Yakus, I would definitely not put this down because this is used in 2 different Yakus. It's a very good card to have. And if I got a Yaku with this, boom, everyone around is 50 points. Okay? So, but we're not playing Yaku, so this is my 5-point card, and I'm going to put it down in the field. So I'm going to show you really quickly what we have in the field. We have some really nice cards, and then we have, I'll show you the other 3. I know this is hard. I should have had a document camera for this. And here's the other set 3. Okay, so I put down my card, and now I'm flipping from the kasu, and I'm flipping from the deck, and it's a kasu, and so I'm just putting it down. So now, oh wait, it matches, thank you. There was a match that I didn't see. I can't do two things at once here, I guess. So I got the boar. This is a great one to have if you're playing yakus, because again, this one, like the deer, is included in two different yaku sets. Okay, so I'm gonna keep this, and I'm done with my turn. And now it's Cole's turn.
So I have the 10-pointer iris and the calcium iris happens to be in the field. Trash, it doesn't work. And flip. I flip it
Oh,
on the field.
the bozu or bozo. I'm gonna show the field real quick. This is like, gosh, it's great when there's like a 20-pointer down there. Okay, sorry. Okay, so this is what we got. Here is, just so you can see the setup again. So here's the cards you flip from, and this is what we have in the field. Okay, so Emily, what are you gonna get? All right, so she just put down that one. Okay, so nothing happened for her in that round. And as you recall, I've been like desperately clinging to my green card, and I can get it. So this is a case where Cole did that early play with his I'm getting confused between the two different ones, Gaji and Oni. It's called Gaji or Oni. He made a play for this particular card, hoping he could get the crane, but I got it this time. Yeah, he'll get the 10-pointer. And then now I flip, and nothing matches. Okay, so Cole's gonna go next.
Use my Kasu card.
I'm gonna speak a little louder.
I'm gonna use my Kasu card for the runes to get a 5-pointer. Where can I get the 5-point?
Okay, great. I'm just gonna try to show you Cole's setup. Okay, so now you can see Cole. So he has a range with the 5 points at the bottom, the 10-point banners in the middle, and his 20-point at the top. He's got a really nice hand that's much larger than Cole, Emily's or mine. Okay, let's set this back down. Well, actually, I can hold it while you do your play, Emily. So you're gonna get something here. Oops, that's what. Oh, okay. So she just went ahead and gave that to Cole because she knows he's gonna get it at the end because he is the only card that'll match it. Okay. All right, so let's move this so the field's a little more clear.
Oh, and if we put them as a 20 so fast, I can
Yeah.
have it. Yeah, that's right.
All right, so my turn. I've got one card left. And so I have to put it down. I'm so sad. That's like a really nice 10-point card. And I'm going to do again what Emily said. So where Dad taught us, like, there's luck in flipping it really hard and fast, and you just slap it. You got it. You go like that. Whoops, so maybe you don't throw everything around. I got it. I got this. So I got this card. Awesome. All right. That was a little too vigorous. Wait a second. Let me get this lined up again. Okay. Okay, Kasu. And
Yeah, so it's like one of us forgot to flip. So this card we would consider part of someone's hand. That's why we usually somebody for flipping.
forgetting to flip, you mean?
Yeah, forgetting to flip. So if you use a Gaji, you'll get the card you got plus the matching card that goes with it, as well as the last Willow card. Since Gaji is part of the Willow deck, and so you can only ever, this is a full suite. So if the Gaji is used on another card, like this one, then the Willow card will go to the person using Gaji. If the Gaji is ever flipped up on the first play, and when you lay out the cards at first, when the Gaji is flipped up, it becomes a Kasu. You can pick it up with any one of the Willow cards, and then you would just discard it because since it's on the field, it has no value.
Yeah, Cole, obviously, he won by a lot. And normally we would count. Do you guys want to go ahead and just count what you have, Cole? I have 85.
No, it's a tie.
Really? I can't even believe that. Wow, I didn't feel like it was. Okay, so we kind of had a tile here. Yeah, lots of strategy. It's really fun, especially if you get like, you have an emotional player in the mix. And that's really, it can be very exciting. Question. Is the idea to get the most points? Yes, I'm sorry I didn't clarify that. Yes, you want to get as many points as possible. And when you're playing with Yakus, it's really not as much as getting as many points as possible. It's about destroying your opponent. Because if you get a Yaku, you're reducing their points by 50. And so you can actually put people into negative zones. And it's all about the points. Can you describe how to bet? Wow. If my great-grandfather was here, he'd be able to tell you that. Normally, in my family, we just, if you win, you get like candy, like Tamaki was saying. But back in the day, and maybe someone here can say in the chat what it was like here, but in Honolulu and Maui, in Honolulu, my great-great-grandfather, he gambled a lot because he came over and as a child to work in the fields, and his whole community was men until they were able to bring picture brides over. And what did the men do to socialize? It was gambling. So gambling was very much part of like, how do we entertain ourselves without family? Sometimes people here think that Asians are all about gambling. It's like, well, what was available to people that came? If you couldn't have family, what are you going to do? But unfortunately, he really had a love for Hanafuda, so he kept playing once he had a family. And my great-grandmother had to take and start a business of washing clothes. So my father remembers her even in her older years over the scrub board, washing. So she became a businesswoman doing laundry. I think it was mostly for restaurants and also field workers. So that's a great question. I don't know how it was gambled on, but I know money was exchanged. Someone found Gaji means lightning. That's fantastic. Okay, so there was a reason for that. Great. Well, I love these questions. I hope I got them all. And then I just want to say, like, moving into the closing part here is, how can we carry this game forward and carry the stories of this game forward? In my family, it holds very, wonderful meaning and memories, even though it started from maybe a place of pain. I'm sure my great-grandmother would never want to play play Hanafuda with us. My other great-grandmother, who didn't speak a word of English, I remember most distinctly playing Hanafuda with her. That's how I connected. She was always wearing a kimono, and she had a little tiny sake cup next to her, and she'd sit very properly, and she would very rapidly shuffle the cards. And when we played, my dad always had to edge us to not say anything because she cheated. And as Kurt said earlier, that you could hide these cards easily when it was an illegal game. Well, you can also hide it very easily to cheat if you've got kimono sleeves. And so she had this little technique where she'd get her cards and she'd kind of like sneakily stuff it into her sleeve, and then it would reemerge on her play field at the end. Like she would add it into when we're counting, and it's like, oh my goodness. All right. The other really funny thing about that is I found out later that sake cup was not filled with sake, but it was filled with wild turkey. So anyway, a little bit of multiculturalism there. So just want us to think about, how do we find the things in our lives that connect us to our history and our culture? I really believe that gambling, actually, the games that we used and played across cultures, whether it was the Japanese or the Chinese or Filipinos, or any culture, those games often were the moments when different communities connected. We all like to play games, right? It's universal. And it was usually in the game playing spaces, in the gambling spaces, that it was allowed to intermix. And this is where communities connected and people started to get to know each other. And Kurt's going to now lead in to talk about what's going to happen tomorrow.
So tomorrow is our show on gambling in Japantown in the Asian community. We have some wonderful guests. We're going to have historian Connie Young-Yu, who will talk about gambling in the Chinese community and the importance of gambling to the early immigrants. We're going to have Marie Johnston. If you thought that a lot of these Hanafuda cards were beautiful. She has created a line of beautiful Hanafuda cards. The historian Robert Ragsack will talk about gambling in the Filipino communities, and he has a lot of amazing stories that will keep you entertained. And then our final guest will be Ted Ramos, who is an officer with the San Jose Police Department, and Ted has written a book on gambling in San Jose, and so he has a lot of interesting facts and stories. So we got a very exciting lineup that you do not want to miss.
Thank you so much for joining us, Tamaki, and sharing your perspective, and for everyone who came and shared their thoughts. And I'll be looking at the Miro board and see what people have to say.